Hi, we're the Muppets, and this week we're going to talk about Little Woods, directed by Nia DaCosta in 2018. I'm Mars, and I use they, them
I'm
pronouns.
Melanie, and I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Kalani, and I use any pronouns.
I'm Evelyn, and I use she, her pronouns. And just to give a brief summary about the movie we're going to be talking about, as Mars said, we're going to be talking about Little Woods, directed by Nia DaCosta. And this is essentially just about two sisters who live in North Dakota, and they're pushed to extremes in order to collect money for their mortgage payment after the death of their mother. So just to start us off, we're going to be talking about perspective. I think right off the bat, I don't know if you guys also took notes on this, but like literally the opening scene of the entire film, when the main character Ollie, or one of the lead characters, was running away from like a white van. Like, you don't really know the premise of what's going on exactly yet, but I think this immediately helped to kind of show whose perspective we were seeing it from, and like who we were kind of like rooting for in a sense, because there was just there was a disorienting feeling that the director was able to capture through the use of like the camera. I don't really remember what the technique is called, but it's when like yeah, I think something like that, where it's like she's moving towards yeah, exactly. And that just kind of, yeah, exactly, that created kind of like a foreboding like vibe, and it was very like, oh, she's really anxious right now, and this is like a scary moment for her. And so I feel like, just to start us off, I feel like that was a really good way to kind of like show her perspective of that situation.
And to add on to that, doesn't she wake up from a dream right after that?
Yeah.
So that is a very big indicator of like whose perspective we're seeing, if we're seeing inside her dream, inside her head. Yes.
I also wrote down that from that exact scene where she's like running, I wrote that the sound of the car was like, it just kept getting louder and louder to just like increase the anxiety that she was feeling. And so I also wrote that down.
Yeah, because I feel like it wasn't just showing us perspective, it was also showing us like how she was feeling from her perspective, and how like we as an audience should be feeling as well. Like through the use of everything basically that we were saying, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. So I did notice that I think it was the second or third scene when, oh man, can anyone help me out? Her friend there who bought drugs from her, who had a broken foot.
I don't know if I have his name written down.
It's okay.
Was that one Dale, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dale.
Oh yeah, I think it was Dale. It was Dale, yeah.
Okay.
So I noticed in the scene with Dale, the light was coming in from like the kitchen and the window behind them, and so their faces were like kind of shadowed out, and I noticed repeatedly that technique being used. So in that kitchen scene, when she first is talking to her probation officer and he's like, stay clean, like you're so close. So just a lot of tense moments for Ollie being highlighted by low lighting, I guess.
Yeah, I also, keeping on the topic of the character of Ollie, I feel like, I'm not quite sure when this happened. I feel like it was probably mid into the film. There was one point where she was waiting to talk to somebody, or just like waiting for something, like sitting at a table or at a chair, and she was like fiddling with her fingers and kind of like,
I was just gonna say
like
that.
Well, yeah, like a nervous tick almost, just like kind of moving her fingers around and stuff. And the fact that the camera like showed that, and that was like an important part of the scene, again, I feel like just establishes the perspective and everything. And also, again, like I kind of said before, how it helps you understand what you're supposed to be feeling. I feel like everything that kind of centered Ollie was very much like anxiety, and like, she kind of felt like she had everything on her shoulders. So I feel like including that helped the audience understand that her perspective of the situation, even though it like seems like she kind of has her shit together, like she's very much like still anxious and like worried about everything that's going to be unfolding. So I thought that was just important.
Yeah, there was another moment like that too, when it was right before her the mentor's name. What was his name?
The mentor? Oh, the
probation
parole officer. Carter.
Yeah, Carter. It was right before he came into her house, and it was when she was sorting out all the drugs and stuff, and there was another view of her hands as she was like doing her thing, and it showed us how experienced she was with it. Like she was just doing it so fast, and then like it also showed that she was like nervous and like hesitant, and I just thought it was a really good use of
I also wrote that down.
Yeah, me too. And
A shot of her hands fidgeting before.
yeah. And going off of like that scene where the parole or probation officer like comes to her house for like a random check, I wrote down secondhand stress because like I feel like we talk about like secondhand embarrassment a lot in like movies and film. But the secondhand like with I think like the music and also the fact that we just knew that she had just shoved like the drugs into some random closet and he was getting closer and she kept like looking at him and then looking at the door. Like the secondhand stress that I was feeling during that scene was like so intense, and I think that really connects you to the character because you're really feeling like, oh my god, she's gonna get caught, she's like 4 days away from being off probation and this is it, but she doesn't.
I don't know if this is a little too literary analysis-y for video analysis or movie analysis thing, but I think that the use of dramatic irony in that scene and like in situations like that, it's like really heavily employed to create that sense of secondhand stress. Like, you know, she's hiding the drugs, you know, she's selling the drugs, but the probation officer doesn't, and you see her behind his back looking around, like trying to like shove things away. So it definitely creates a sense of yeah, like you said, secondhand stress.
Also, the fact that he left and then she opened the closet and all of the drugs like fell out. So like if he had opened the closet like when he was there, that would have happened. That freaked me out. And I mean, also you could say that I like the secondhand stress thing is really true. And I think you could also even say that it was kind of a secondhand embarrassment moment, just because I mean, I felt that way because she had this guy like praising her, being like, I'm so proud of you, like you're doing such a great job, like, you know, good for you for like not falling back into this mess. Like meanwhile she's hiding all these drugs from him and like still engaging in that, and it's like the feeling of embarrassment, almost like shame, kind of like you kind of feel that for her because it's just such a messy situation, and it sucks because it kind of is like, did she really have a choice? Like you kind of always have a choice, but at the same time like she didn't really. So I don't know, like yeah, if she wanted to help her family and everything, that was kind of the only thing that she could really do.
I also wrote down from that exact scene that when he says I'm the words "I'm proud of you," there it was tilted up or tilted down towards her, and so it was like I feel like she really values him and holds him to like a higher standard than she will ever hold herself to, and she wants to impress him so badly. So hearing those words "I'm proud of you" was like, ow, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
definitely. Also kind of continuing with Ollie, but also shifting to her sister Deb, who was kind of the other, I guess you could say, like lead character. There were a few, but they kind of felt like the most important to me. Something that I really enjoyed was like a lot of the time when they would be having conversations, the two of them, like Deb and Ollie, they both would be in frame for like a decent portion of their conversation. So like the frame would be the two of them like sitting looking at each other and like we'd be seeing them, which I feel like also helps to establish perspective in the sense that like they both of them together are like really really important to the plot of the film, in the sense that like the two of them, I don't know if I'm saying this like in the way I'm trying to say it, but basically like they need to be together and they need to be working together in order for the plot of the film to carry out the way that it should and to carry out the way that we want it to, in the sense like, oh, we want them to succeed, we want them to be able to like get the money, and like we want Deb to be able to make a good decision like for her family. And so I really liked that. I also just like, I love, this is like a little bit off topic, but I love the whole like sister thing. Like it reminded me of my little sister, not in like a weird way, like we're selling drugs, but like in the sense that like, I don't know, like just that bond that you have with your sister, I feel like is really strong. And I like really admired the way that they went about showing it, because it's like, they obviously butt heads and had disagreements and like weren't always getting along, but at the end of the day, they would like do anything for each other. So I just liked that a lot.
And going off of that, oh sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay, going off of that, like what you were saying with the two of them being in frame, a lot of the scenes where they were like together in frame, they were like equal, like sitting equally. So like if they had just had like an argument, like often like Deb would like go somewhere and would sit down, and then Ollie would come and sit down next to her so that they would be like on the same level. And I feel like it really put you in the perspective of like they are both like they both have faults, they both have good things about them, but they're always like equal with each other, and one's not better than the other, and they like know that about each other, which I thought was good.
A specific example of that happening would maybe be like the last scene when they go and sit next to each other, and have that, maybe not the last scene, but like very close to the end when they have that heartfelt "I love you" conversation.
Yeah. And also in the kitchen after, like the morning after they fight about the van being taken away.
Yeah.
Deb is like sitting on the floor in the kitchen, like sort of in a corner, and Ollie sits next to her.
Gonna say the same thing, and like the same thing you were talking about, Evelyn, with like just sisterhood, and just like I will get in fights with my sisters and be like so mad at them, and I'm like, I'm never gonna forgive them, and then like an hour later we're playing a game together, and I'm like, how does this happen? But like just that whole fight portrayed, and then the day after she sat down next to her and they like had a little laugh, and it was just like, as much as their life was so awful and they're just going through so much, they were able to like look at each other and laugh, and I was just like, oh, like it was just a really sweet moment.
And I liked how what you guys were saying about I think Kalani, you said this, how they like were always equal. I think that also is important, just to the fact that you shouldn't ever be like really comparing them to each other, or like the point of the film wasn't to like compare them to each other, because like you could think like, oh, who has it worse, or who's making the worst decisions of the two. But at the end of the day, like it's kind of irrelevant, because it's just like, this is like where they are and this is the situation that they're in, and despite the fact that they both have made questionable choices, like they're in it right now and they need to get through it together. So yeah.
Going off of the character of Deb instead of just both of them, the scene where she was in the trying to get the ID was terrifying. I feel like there's so much we can talk about with that. It was just terrifying.
I also wrote that.
I
also wrote that it was terrifying.
It was literally terrifying. I was like, I like sat on the chair.
I was holding like my hands like this.
I was like, I can't do this right now. It was so stressful. But we can talk about why.
What makes that scene so stressful?
Okay. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
First red flag for me was the dialogue. That guy was being really creepy and just saying weird things. He was like, you need to take your jacket off, and like just like being awful. Yeah.
I actually, the first like hint of it that I felt was when he walked through the door behind her and it was like pitch black, and then you suddenly see like a figure like coming behind her and she doesn't see him until he's like saying something to her, and it's so scary. Like you're like, oh my god, like that she's not only alone with one man she doesn't know, but now there's another one like cornering her behind her, which is so terrifying.
Yeah.
Also,
that was like another irony. You go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I interrupted. I was just gonna say that I feel like the moment that I knew, at least, that I was like, oh, she's really, because I mean, just being alone with two random men in general is like, but like when I really was like, oh, these guys like suck, is when the first guy left and she was alone with the man who, like, the creepier guy. And I mean, there was no, as far as I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, there was no like music in the background or like any sort of like ambiance or anything like that. I felt like it was very much like kind of silence. And the way that just like his body language, I mean, that's more like acting rather than like cameras and lighting and stuff, but just like the way that he was watching her was like so like, what's the word I'm looking for? Unsettling, like just very, very unsettling, the entire thing. Yeah.
I feel like usually with like horror movies, like I'm allowed to like calm myself down by being like, this isn't real, like that is a clown, this would never happen in real life. But the reason this was so terrifying is because it's like, this does happen in real life.
Yeah.
And like this is things that scare me when I'm out alone, like that. It's just like, it was so authentic that I was just like freaking out.
Does feel very authentic. And also the fact that she is in this sketchy place with these sketchy guys doing this sketchy thing for the sake of her family, and like she needs to get an abortion, that's for her well-being and her family's well-being, and she is being forced to do this sketchy thing and go to a different country because of society. I don't want to sound annoying, but yeah, I think that the reality of the situation is definitely terrifying.
Yeah. And you can like hear her breathing too pretty heavily when he like has her like against the wall. He's like holding her arm and she's just like terrified. But also I really liked the use of like eyeline match there when she's looking at the like sets of IDs on the like by the door, because you can tell she's like trying to work in her brain like, what do I do? Can I get out of here? And can I get out of here with something? Because I came here and I don't want to leave without anything. So you can tell that she's like, even though like she's not portrayed as the smartest character, but like she definitely understands like things like that, and she is smart in a lot of her decisions.
I noticed in that scene and a lot of scenes with like panic and stress, the classic handheld camera, so it's a little shaky and you know someone's following on foot, following someone around. They employed that a lot in scenes of, again, high stress in this movie, and that one specifically, when they're, I think after she looks at the IDs and is like, okay, I'm gonna do this, can I get my jacket?
Yeah.
Also, the fact that while all this was happening, Ollie was outside like having to talk to that police officer with Johnny, like Deb's son, in the car. That also, because it was like the two opposing things that were happening that were causing stress, but for two like completely different reasons. Because I mean, that was just annoying, like in and of itself, because it was like this police officer comes outside, like asks her for a cigarette, being all friendly, and then suddenly he's like, so who's in the car? And what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Step away from the vehicle. And it's like, yeah, it was exactly. And I just felt like those two like opposing things, like the way that they both were causing stress, but for like different reasons, and because of like their both of the sisters like identities, if that makes sense. Because it was like Deb was kind of experiencing something that had to do with the fact that she was a woman, and then like Ollie's experiencing something that has to do with the fact that she's Black, and it's like happening simultaneously. And like I just liked that kind of like opposing thing that was going on.
I also like that in that scene, it kind of seemed like once they came together, which actually did not like this part, that once, of course, Deb comes back, the white woman, the cop is like, oh, okay, it's your kid, have a great day, see you later. But Ollie can also solve Deb's problem by getting her the hell out of there. So it's, I mean, shows their sisterhood and their bond, that they can come together and solve each other's problems, even though it's not a very happy scene anyway.
Yeah, because it also just shows that they like need each other to get through what they're about to go through. Because like even if it's not for reasons that we would like, oh, Deb needs to be able to save Ollie and like vice versa. It does kind of like continue to emphasize the point of like they need to stick together in order to like accomplish whatever it is they're going to, or else they won't be able to.
Yeah.
Something about Deb's character that, like, something that I thought really spoke to her perspective was when they're crossing, I believe it's like the border, like when they're crossing that area between the two woods, and she like stops and looks at the sunrise. And I thought that was very like, it's this moment where she's finally like, she's looking out at her future and she's like having hope for like, maybe this is going to work out, and like maybe there is like beauty here. And like I think it's just a really sweet moment that's like she's looking at this beautiful sunrise as she's like coming from this her life of like horrible everything, like and I don't know, I thought that was a really cool moment because like they're trying to cross the border, but at the same time she has to stop and just look and just breathe, which is
yeah. Something else with Deb was when she was in the medical room, like about to get the abortion, and the camera was just face down, like right down on her face, and like you could literally, like you could just see her everything, just like everything she was feeling in that moment of like just like the whole build up to getting there too, with the pro-life signs and just like her going in being so anxious, and then that final moment where it's just all you see is her face and how nervous she is in that moment. But like, I think overall it's evident to tell that she is happy with her decision. Like in that moment, she's like, I'm doing the right thing for me. And I'm like, yes.
Another moment I just thought of in that scene where she goes in to get the abortion, I think that, I don't know if you guys would agree or disagree, but I think that the lady at the counter could tell that her ID was not her and knew that it was BS, and she just knew that a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do.
Yeah.
So she gives this look like right
Like-
after she reads out the numbers,
Yeah.
and she's like, and you can see Deb's like heavy breathing. She's like looking
Mhm.
around, like she's moving her
She's like,
fingers.
I'm gonna go.
And the lady's like, "It's, yep, your appointments. You're all good."
Shout out to that.
Yeah,
She's wonderful.
yeah.
Really.
I was also gonna say about, sorry, Evelyn, what were you saying about Deb before, or was Kalani saying it? Before we started talking about the abortion, were we talking about sorry,
The sunrise.
oh, the sunrise.
I
Yes,
talked about
I
that.
wanted to
Yeah.
say that moment, along with being like, it showed that she was like having hope for the future. I also felt like it was very like, I guess, humanizing for the character, and just like a very human moment where like we all have memories of just like stopping to smell the flowers, or like stopping to look at the sunset, and just like taking things in with your senses. And yeah, it just further serves to see the perspective of that character.
I also want to mention that right after we left the movie, there was a beautiful sunset outside. And like I went up to like the garage to like go take pictures of it, and I could just see like a ton of people stopping to look at the sunset. And it was like, oh my
We're like
gosh, this is such a
Deb.
human moment. Like, whoa,
Life
this is so
imitates
funny.
art.
It really does. It was very funny. I like that.
So cute. But I also thought there was a humanistic aspect, just with all of Deb's interactions with her son. And there were just like there was a moment where her and her sister were fighting and they were like screaming at each other. And then after that, like while they were running down the hallway or marching down the hallway, you could hear, what's his name?
Bear.
Johnny.
Bear, but
Bear /
Johnny.
Johnny.
Bear / Johnny. Yeah.
You could hear his voice and he was like, Mom, like what's happening? And she was just like, go back inside, like changed her whole tone, like changed her, like go back inside, Johnny. And then just started like yelling again. Like, and it was like, because like she does really care about her son. And I feel like she's in those moments of like anger when her whole life is a mess, like he really like grounds her, and like it adds a very human aspect to her character. And I also wrote down that in the fight with her ex person, Ian, after that fight, when she was like throwing the money or whatever, there was like a little bit of like a heartbeat sound effect like after it, and it like turned into music. But like I thought that was a good use of perspective, just like telling us how she felt.
Yeah, and going off of the thing with her and Johnny, when we first see inside of their van, I think it's like the first time they go in, there's a scene of like both her and Johnny laying down on the bed, and like I think there's like little, I don't know what it is, maybe little trucks or something on the bed sheets. It's like very like childish, and it's like a close up of the two of them laying on the bed, and she's sort of talking about how they'll be okay. And I thought it was just really sweet. Like she's doing everything she can for him, and it's very clear that she loves him.
Yeah, I thought that was a really
Yes. Okay. Does anyone know how long we've been recording for? I think we have like 4 to 5 more minutes.
Should we do fit check?
I think we should do
Yeah,
fit
we can do that.
check.
Okay, who wants to start?
Okay, I can if no one's volunteering.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
What I wrote down was, well, I noticed one thing, I guess I'll just include this here. One thing about Ollie's like clothing, I noticed that she wore mostly like dark brown, like gray, dark clothing to not call attention to herself, because the entire movie she is doing things that she does not want attention for. She does not want her probation officer's attention. She doesn't want the police's attention. So I did notice that because she was wearing brown and like neutral colors the whole time, I noticed more when Deb would wear brighter colors. So I wrote down for my fit check, Deb had a blue, like a bright blue shirt under her sweatshirt, and her sweatshirt was like kind of purpley pink. I don't know. There wasn't many amazing outfits in this movie, not gonna lie, but I did like her pink and blue combination there, and it stood out against Ollie's clothing.
I wrote down Ollie's interview outfit, not because it was necessarily good, just because I thought she was just being so cute, and she was like, "Do I look okay?" Just like being like so nervous and like, did I wear the right thing? And I really did love Ollie, and I was just like, oh, she deserves the world. And I just like I was rooting for her so much. And just like how you were saying before, how like she wore very like comfortable, not like appear like don't look at me clothing. Like that was a big thing for her to wear her little blazer and the white shirt underneath. I was like, this is so cute. So I was like, yes, but that's my fit check.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Fit check. First of all, not that I loved this choice, but I thought it was cute that both Ollie and Deb had like the little beanies that like they kind of matched. I didn't like how they looked personally, but I thought it was cute that they were like matching. But my fit check, I think, is like when we see Deb working as a waitress, when she has like, I don't know if it was like a plaid shirt or something, and then she had like her hoops and her little necklace and her hair in like a cute little ponytail, and I was like, she looks so adorable. Like I love that for her.
Cute.
Okay, so fit check. My fit check is actually Johnny, because he always was wearing that little blue hat, and I think he's really cute. There's like literally no other reason except that I thought he was so cute, and I loved the hat that he was wearing, and I just think that like, I don't know, like that consistency I thought was really cute, and it was like a little bird or something, and I liked it a lot. So that's mine. Yeah.
One of the other
like
things
that.
I wrote down for a possible fit check was Johnny's dino pajamas, because
Yes.
I thought they were too cute. I was like, Johnny, so cute.
Johnny was serving looks the entire time.
Great. Thank you so much for watching our video this
Thanks
week.
for watching. Okay.
Thanks.
See you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
You end recording.